We're joined here by Bill Dedman. And Bill, I'm so excited for you to be joining us just for a little bit of a teaser of what we have coming later this year. For those that don't know, Bill Dedman is a multi-award winning, we're talking Pulitzer Prize award winning investigative journalist who has a significant amount of experience dealing with real estate discrimination related issues. And most recently is known for the 2019 investigative report from Newsday on some issues in Long Island. And so, Bill, we're going to have you joining us later this year at our annual conference, but we wanted to give a little bit of a teaser to kind of give people a sample of what's to come. I am thrilled and super excited about this. So I guess if you can give us a little bit of an overview of really just what was that investigation and how did you even get involved in the first place?
Oh, sure. So this was a team effort, not mine alone, certainly. Newsday is the main newspaper on Long Island, a suburb of New York City with about 3 million people that's very heavily segregated. And it's like a lot of America, a lot of diversity overall, people of all backgrounds, nationalities, but living in their own separate communities and separate school districts. For example, out of more than 200 communities on Long Island, a majority of the Black residents live in only 8. So we had heard through the years when homebuyers would try to go outside of that area, especially Black homebuyers, they would encounter problems getting to see homes, having difficulties in the closing. And so, these are anecdotes. And so we wanted to get beyond anecdote and say, what happens if you do a test? So Newsday decided to send out testers under very carefully controlled circumstances. We're talking about Black, white, Asian, and Hispanic buyers who present the same area, let's say within 20 minutes of this downtown. They present the same price range. They're ready to give the same credit score and income if asked. They're dressed in very similar upper middle class business casual dress. I went to Nordstrom and bought the purses for the women to carry so they'd all be similar. And what we saw was big differences in about 40% of the tests. People steered to different communities. One person being told, oh, you might like it in this community, but another person being told, oh, that same community, you won't like it there, bad resale value, poor school district, don't move there. Or, and in a way, that's what we were testing for, right? People steered Asians to Asian communities, Blacks to Black communities. But we also saw things we hadn't expected, like people being turned down and not served at all. Customers being asked, are you pre-qualified for a mortgage? That's a perfectly reasonable question. But then the Black who's not pre-qualified is told, sorry, I can't take out anyone who's not pre-qualified. But the white customer who's not pre-qualified is told, when can you start looking at houses? So those sorts of barriers to entry we hadn't expected. These are some of the surprises that we encountered.
That is very interesting. Do you, and I'm not as familiar with the report as I'm going to be, because I have the link open. I'm going to read it after this. But do you think in that report was most of it malicious or accidental? Like, how did that report pan out?
I think it's a fascinating question. The viewers, the readers can draw their own conclusions about that. We're not mind readers, right? But remember, all of these individuals were carrying or wearing hidden cameras. So you can watch all of these interactions. We all know how something's not in today's world, you believe it if you can see it, right? So we knew that hidden cameras were a key part of this. And that's legal in New York, that's legal in Oklahoma, and in most states. And there were some examples of where you would think this person is just getting more of an affinity with the white buyer. We had realtors who would offer babysitting to the white buyer. I live in that community. If you move into this community, I live there. I know friends, they can babysit for your kids. But then that same realtor wouldn't tell the minority buyer even what community the agent lived in. That's an interesting little trick of affinity, right?
Yeah.
Now, we didn't throw nobody got a flag thrown on them for that sort of minor thing, but it does give a clue. I think the main response to, is it intentional or is it some sort of implicit bias, is that it doesn't matter at all. The law does not control thoughts. It's behavior, it's equal treatment that the law calls for. No one ever asks a burglar, hey, did you intend to break into this house? So it's how, if you're a real estate agent and you're treating people differently, and the difference between them is one of the protected categories in the fair housing laws, then you've broken the law. And there are about 100 agents and brokers now in New York State that are in peril of losing their license because of this investigation. And the state's doing hearings and investigations based on our report. And that's what we're trying to discuss, is how do you get to confidence? If you're a broker and your license is on the line, how do you get to confidence that your agent is giving the same listings to two people who come shopping this weekend for homes in Oklahoma City, or to two different people seeing two different agents? The law requires you to serve everybody in your brokerage, even if they're seen by different agents. But we thought it would be more fair and more persuasive to see what would happen if the same realtor saw both customers.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. And the thing that is interesting, particularly with your background, is, you know, back in 1988, you were investigating banks for, you know, inappropriate lending practices, discriminatory lending practices.
Red line.
Here,
right.
30 years later, you're now looking into real estate agents, and we're talking 2019, right? This is today. This is now. And I would love to hear kind of how do you feel about that? I mean, do you still feel hopeful that we are moving in the right direction, or is it just this continuous thing that we just keep having to uncover it because it's a constant battle? What direction are you feeling?
It's interesting. Well, you know, in a way, I suspect that it's sort of baked into the culture. And I think an important thing to realize is that there's so much steering that it can't just be bad people who are doing it. I just don't believe that there are not that many. I don't think there are many outwardly racist lending or real estate professionals who are acting out of some sort of bias. The good people have to be doing it too. And I think what happens is people fall into the trap of trying to help one person and then not giving that same help to another person. Some of it could just be profiling, making an assumption. Black means poor. So when this person tells me a price range, I don't think they'll really qualify for a home in that price range. Some assumptions, that's part of it perhaps. It could also be just people looking for a shortcut, thinking that people will be more apt to buy a home quickly. And that's more money in the pocket of the agent if they are shown homes, quote, in an area where you'll feel comfortable. And we have video of agents essentially saying that to white buyers. I think what's most surprising about what we found was how none of the minority buyers knew this was happening to them. Remember, these were just regular people that we got to do these tests. There was an accountant. There was the wife of a dean from the college. There was an IRS worker. There were some out-of-work actors, regular folks. And the minority buyers would come back to our newspaper office and say, she was so nice. They were really helpful. And it was only when we set them down side by side and showed the videos and showed the maps of the listings that they were given, only then did the white buyer know they were given help that the minority buyer, you never know what someone else is getting, right? And it's only then that the minority buyers would see, oh, well, that perfectly reasonable explanation she gave me for not helping me, she didn't give to the white buyer who was in the same circumstance. And in other words, the subtlety of it, the smile, the handshake, we're way past the days of signs that say whites only. But the subtlety of it is, in a way, surprising, a little bit frightening, right? I think another frightening way was just how rote some of the sales pitches were. Remember, these were agents who had just met these customers. They're new customers. They just walked in or sent an email or called. They're meeting them for the first time. And it was surprising how many agents would just start their presentation to the white buyers with essentially, don't get off the highway till you get past these communities because they're not very good. Don't look in these communities. And but then for the minority communities, you might you might like these communities. They're nice and convenient. They're close to where you're looking. That the way it was just sort of the practice. This wasn't someone who was uttering a slur because they were cut off in traffic, right? This was the sales pitch. Steering seemed to be the service they were selling. And that sort of surprised us.
Yeah, it's certainly a frustrating issue that we do have to continue to fight this fight. And so you're joining us on Monday, September 13th. You're going to be our keynote lunch speaker on that day. And what is it that you're going to come share with us? What can we expect on that day?
Well, we're going to show some video clips of agents in action, admittedly not on their best days, but we'll show some of the clips just to highlight some of the different kinds of this problem. I think the really hard part is schools. We're going to talk quite a bit about what agents can say about schools, because schools are basically the main way this kind of steering happens. Saying to one person, that's not a good school district, but then not sharing that information with others. So we'll talk quite a bit about what agents can say about schools. And I'm hoping we'll talk more about active steps that brokers can take to take advantage of some of the new training. The National Association of Realtors has come out with quite a few new training efforts on implicit bias, and there's the new Fairhaven video game. And I'm hoping we can discuss ways through training and through practice and through standards in an office, giving appropriate answers to the school's question, giving everyone the same material, not picking and choosing communities for buyers, right? And so my goal is that this be helpful, not just in I can't believe they said that sort of way, but how does it work in our office? What do we do, and how do we ensure that everybody gets the same treatment if they're in the same circumstance?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that it's practical, especially for brokers who have the responsibility and can exercise some change in their office.
Well, I, for one, am looking forward to hearing you in person. And for anyone who wants more information or to register, log on to our website, oarconference.com, and you can get to learn a little more about Bill and some of the work that he's done, and learn more about the conference and register for it. So,
yeah, Bill, I'm so thankful that we're able to get you out here. I'm very excited that you're giving us some time here. When I heard that you were coming, I was so excited. It's, of all the things at the conference, this is by far what I'm most excited about. Nothing against anybody else that's joining us or any of the other sessions that we have.
Thank you, guys. And I'm excited to get back to the Cowboy Museum. So everybody's excited.
Absolutely.
But we'll show video and we can discuss some of the hard parts. And I'm hoping to hear good questions from your members too. So it'll be great to see you in September in Oklahoma City. Thank you.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us today to give us a little sample of what we have to come. And we look forward to seeing you in September. And so again, don't forget, go to oarconference.com, get registered, come see Bill and all the other great stuff we've got going on. So thank you so much. And we will see you here in just a few months.
Thank you.
Thanks.